I guess. Oh, all right, it's on now. Are you rolling? I was gonna break for lunch. Hello, adventurers. Welcome back to A Dungeon Master's Tome, your go-to place for all things tabletop RPGs. My name is Tyler, a dungeon master with 3 years experience running TTRPG games and over a decade of tabletop experience beginning in the Warhammer 40k universe. Today's class highlight is the Soul Knife Rogue. I call it the infinite ammo glitch. The Soul Knife Rogue can manifest psychic blades from their sheer force of will. These blades deal psychic damage and leave no wounds behind. That's pretty cool if you ask me. This week while running the intro adventure for Vecna Eve of Ruin, one of my players, a Soul Knife Rogue, snuck through a chamber of cultists, and while they were sleeping, he was able to assassinate them, leaving no trace of who or what unalived them. During the session, he ran around the outside of the playing field, tossing dagger after dagger into the onslaught of enemies. He was positioning for sneak attack left and right and absolutely dominating the session. Big shout out for Tim for the excellent roleplay. Now, before we get started with today's main topic, I just want to ask, if you love my content, please consider subscribing to the channel, share my videos, and click the bell icon if you want to get notified every time I post a new video. If you also have TikTok, you can go on over there and follow me as well. Finally, there's a link for my Discord in the channel below, where I'm forming a community around tabletop games, role-playing games in particular, and I'd love it if you'd hop on over and give that a join. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most critical roles in any Dungeons & Dragons game, the Dungeon Master, or DM for short. Whether you're a seasoned player looking to step behind the screen, or a total newbie ready to embark on this adventure, this guide will be for you. So grab your dice, settle in, and let's get started. Let's kick things off with why DMs are so crucial. The Dungeon Master is the heart and soul of any D&D campaign. Being able to pull at the heartstrings of players, making impactful moments that last, and making the players forget about the troubles of the real world outside. It's a feeling that I can't even begin to describe. You're not just a referee, you're a storyteller, a world builder, and a facilitator. Think of it this way. While your players control their individual characters, you control the entire universe that they inhabit. Without a good DM, even the most dedicated group of players can feel lost or disoriented. You as the DM set the scene, build the tension, and ensure that everybody is having fun. You're the glue that holds the game together, and the spark that brings it to life. A great DM can turn even the simplest adventure into an epic grand tale that players are going to remember for years to come. I do want to caution you though, Dungeons & Dragons is a cooperative adventure. It's not the DM versus the players. If you can't handle when your players kill a monster, and you know you're going to take it personally, this game may not be for you. You should be absolutely excited when your players come up with creative and unique ways to kill your monsters. Passion is key when it comes to DMing. You need a love for storytelling, a willingness to learn, and a genuine interest in your players' enjoyment. But what does that really mean? It means getting excited about the worlds you create and the stories you tell. It means diving into the lore and the rule books, not because you have to, but because you want to. The Player's Handbook and the Dungeon Master's Guide may seem long and tedious, but if the thought of reading through them both, cover to cover, at least once bores you, then maybe DMing isn't for you. Passionate DMs are always looking for ways to improve their craft. Whether it's reading new source books and adventures, watching other DMs in action, or just brainstorming cool new ideas. Here's a little secret. Your enthusiasm is contagious. If you're excited about the game, your players will be too. They'll feed off your energy and become more invested in your story. And let's be honest, using dice towers like this is pretty cool. Now let's get into some practical tips for you new DMs. Start with pre-published adventures. Starting with pre-published adventures is a great way to ease yourself into DMing. These modules provide a solid framework, and they teach you how to structure your own stories. They come with detailed settings, NPCs, and plot hooks that can help you learn the ins and outs of running a game. Plus, they give you a chance to focus on mastering the rules without having to worry about creating everything from scratch. As you gain confidence, you can start tweaking the adventure to suit your playstyle and your players' preferences. Understanding the rules to the game is fundamental to being a good DM. Using both the player's handbook, the DMG, Tasha's, etc., these are your go-to resources. But you don't need to memorize every rule. You should know where to find the information, which is just as important. I use little sticky notes on the side of the pages to mark important rules. Just yesterday, for example, I had to flip, I believe it's page 250, for mob rules during combat. Don't be afraid to look these things up, as long as it doesn't slow down the game. The more you play, the more familiar you will become with the rules. It's essential to find a balance between strict rules and flexibility. This is a crucial skill all DMs will eventually master. Remember, the story always comes first. If a rule gets in way of the fun, don't be afraid to bend it. Even the Dungeon Master's Guide says that rules are meant to be flexible. Your goal is to ensure that everybody has a good time. Be open to player creativity and be willing to adjust on the fly. Some of my favorite memories are when my D&D players did something completely off the rails, like the time they dropped a rocky cliff on top of a dire boar instead of facing it head on. They sought out and planned, purchased explosives and special arrows. It was really cool, and they almost didn't pull it off. This was not how I planned on them tackling this task, but it made for one heck of a story, and a tasty imaginary feast to boot. My next tip is on how to handle player conflict at your table. It's going to happen, but it's important to address it calmly and fairly. Make sure that everybody feels heard and work towards a solution that keeps the game enjoyable for all. Set expectations early on about respect and communication, and plan to mediate where necessary. It's true what they say, sometimes a dungeon master is an impromptu therapist for your players, and sometimes their characters. A positive and inclusive atmosphere is key to a successful campaign. Don't keep a problem player in your group because you're afraid to hurt their feelings. One problem player can ruin it for everybody. You're not doing anybody any favors by keeping them around. Breaking up is hard, but it must be done. Speaking of breaking up, one of the reasons why D&D campaigns often come to an unexpected end is scheduling. The greatest BBEG of them all. Finding a time that works for everybody can be such a challenge, especially as adults with busy schedules. You can use scheduling tools like Doodle or Google Calendar to find a common time slot, and you can try to set a regular schedule, whether it's weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. Consistency will help keep the momentum going and make sure that everybody stays engaged. In your session 0, more on that later, make sure that your players are committed, and don't be afraid to set ground rules for the number of sessions that you can miss in a row before a player is at risk from kindly being asked to step away. My next tip for new DMs is on keeping organized notes. Organization is going to be your best friend as a DM. Keep your thoughts and your plans organized in a journal or an app. I personally use Microsoft OneNote. Avoid overly complex systems that make it hard to find information quickly during a session. Simple, well-organized notes will help you stay on top of things and make your sessions run smoothly. I have seen many world-building tools online, both paid and free, with all sorts of really cool features. But one thing they all have in common is that during a session, at least for me, they're all a little too deep to reference quickly, and they end up slowing down my session's play. Do you want to know a little secret that'll help you with this? When in doubt, please don't be afraid to go off script and make it up. Don't be afraid of pulling something from the metaphorical hat. I promise your players won't know. One of the most uncomfortable aspects of TTRPG games is the roleplay. We all watch Dimension 20 and Critical Role and think that we're failures if we can't RP like them. But remember, they get paid to do it. They're professionals, and you're just a normal player trying to tune out the outside world. Use the prose as inspiration, and follow my next few tips to get comfortable with it. Role-playing can be intimidating, but it doesn't have to be. You don't need complex voices or accents to make your NPCs feel unique. Use their personalities, motivations, and mannerisms to your advantage. For example, a gruff blacksmith might speak in short, blunt sentences, while a nervous shopkeeper might ramble and talk about his family and things that you don't care about, all while he avoids eye contact. Simple changes in tone and speech patterns can make a big difference. And remember, role-playing is a skill, and it will improve with practice. The more you do it, the more comfortable you'll be. When you're ready to start getting out of your comfort zone and push things to the next level, introduce accents into your game. This is a great next step. Watch some online videos about how to reproduce accents and practice on your drive to work. My favorite accent is the transatlantic accent. Don't ask me to do it, because I can't. And accents don't have to be perfect. We're not professional voice actors. Alright, so if they sound a bit stereotypical, that's okay, isn't it? From there, you can experiment with your voice. Make it do funny things and embrace it. In order to help, I want you to embody your character. If you're role-playing an old witch, physically bend over and embody her mannerisms to reflect your character, darling. You would be surprised how easily it all comes together once you get into character. They say that the voice follows the body, and I am by no means an expert. But the best part is, once you start doing these things, even if you look a little silly, your players will follow your example. Who cares if you look silly? Honestly, if you all look silly together and you're having fun, that's all that matters. Can I get a drum roll for homebrewing, anybody? This is my favorite topic, and probably what I spend most of my free time doing. When you're ready to start homebrewing, start small. Begin with creating unique magic items or weapons. This will give you a taste of creativity without being overwhelming. And when you gain confidence to do so, you can expand, creating your own worlds and the NPCs that live in it. Homebrewing is all about making the game your own and tailoring it to your group's preferences. Don't be afraid to borrow and tweak ideas from other sources. Inspiration can come from anywhere. The books that you read, the games that you play, and the movies you watch. You can also find more inspiration over on my TikTok page. I like to use D&D Beyond, as there are hundreds of homebrewed items from other players around the world. Additionally, you can use AI language models, even though they're controversial, like ChatGPT, to help you brainstorm and learn how to modify existing monsters and items to fit the places and the specific needs for your campaign. But what do you do when things go off the rail? No matter how well you plan, things will go off script, and that's okay. The key is to plan broadly rather than in minute-by-minute detail. Know the major factions in your world and their goals, understand what they would be doing in the world regardless of your players' actions, and if you do this, it makes your world feel alive and dynamic. You can have a few flexible encounters and NPCs that you can place wherever your players go. This will reduce the pressure to control every detail, and it will keep the game fluid and engaging. Your players will often wonder, just how does he do it all? Your goal is to create a living, breathing world that reacts to the player's actions. If your players enter a village and learn about a bandit camp in the hills, and they're gonna hear whisperings at the bars of merchants who got ambushed on the road, don't force your players to deal with the bandits. Sure, you can have someone offer them a reward, but your players should be free to ignore them. If your players spend too much time in the town, when they go to leave a couple weeks later, maybe the bandit camp grew in size as surrounding bandits learned of a town full of adventurers that were too scared to challenge them. And now all the bandit leaders want a shot at you, making for an interesting on-the-road encounter. Or, if your players choose to leave immediately and ignore the bandits completely, Maybe when they arrive to the next town over, they see some refugees. One of the boys is beaten and bloody. He approaches the players and tells of a bandit raid. With the town undefended, the bandits came in, they took his family ransom, and unalived a bunch of the other town folks. Describe this scene with dramatic detail, and it'll help represent how the player's actions have consequences, that engaging with the world or not can have consequences. The world isn't like a video game. The quests there won't wait for the players to engage. Speaking of encounters and engaging with your players, how do you balance encounters? Believe me, it's not always the toughest encounter. You should be restricting your players' rests and resources. Otherwise, they're going to steamroll even your most well thought out encounters. I see it all over online forums. I dropped X enemy on my players. I thought it was going to be a challenge, but they killed it in one round. It's a common problem, and it's because new DMs aren't restricting your players' rests and the resources that they have. Force them to use the things at their disposal, and that way, eventually over time, they're going to drain and get wounded. By the third or fourth encounter of the day, they should be at half health at least. That being said, don't intentionally drop a CR 25 monster on a group of level 3 players. That's a way to really make your players mad and ensure they don't ever come back. My advice to help with leveled, balanced encounters is to look at the Dungeon Master's Guide. This next tip is going to be on map building. Maps are an essential tool for visualizing your world and helping your players understand their surroundings. You don't need to be an artist to create effective maps. You can use online tools like Incarnate or Dungeon Painter Studio to save time and create professional-looking maps. Focus on creating maps that are easy for your players to understand. Even simple, hand-drawn maps can be incredibly effective. The key is to provide just enough detail to spark your players' imagination. When I first started DMing, I spent a week. I'm not even joking, I spent a week hand drawing a map in Photoshop with terrain brushes and labeling every single city and town across 4 continents. It was exhausting. I definitely wouldn't recommend doing that. There are faster methods, but it goes to show you. There are as many ways to make a map as there are monsters in the monster manual. There are even a few amazing games on Steam dedicated to map and encounter map building. This next topic is really controversial. Should you roll in front of the screen or behind the screen? The decision to roll in front of or behind the screen can really impact the game's tension and fairness. Rolling behind the screen allows you to fudge the rolls to keep the game balanced and fun. It lets you adjust outcomes of the encounters so that the story flows smoothly. However, rolling in front of the screen can add a layer of drama and excitement, especially during high-stakes moments. When I roll in front of the screen, my players know it's a big deal. It adds to the tension and makes the outcome feel more significant. Use both techniques to your advantage, depending on the situation. Some DMs only roll in front of the screen because they feel like hiding their results from the players is unfair and cheating. But I want to remind them, this isn't you versus the players. We are facilitators of a story. The DMG even states that rolling is entirely optional. The DM can just make up, pass, or fail. Finally, I want to touch on the importance of Session 0. Never underestimate the importance of Session 0. This initial meeting sets expectations, it discusses house rules, and ensures that everybody is on the same page. It's a chance to establish the tone of the campaign, create characters together, and address any concerns or preferences. Running a Session 0 helps create a cohesive group and sets the stage for a smooth and enjoyable campaign. A lot of the problems I see online from DMs asking for help is because they failed to run a Session 0 and talk about the rules of the game. Discuss things like character backstories, player boundaries, and any specific themes or elements you want to include in your game, and make sure that your players understand the type of game that they've agreed to play. The most important thing in my opinion, about a session 0 is to set ground rules for triggering topics. Let's face it, D&D can get really gritty. Good roleplay and an in-depth and engaging story has the power to mentally place your characters in a world that feels real even though it's not. It can be so powerful that people have real emotional reactions, good or bad, to the things that happen in your game. The very last thing you want is to be describing an abusive situation between parents and your player's characters, which is part of their backstory, and suddenly your player has a real-life anxiety attack because of the PTSD. In your session 0, ask your players to privately message you topics that are off limits for them, and then let them know that at any time they have the power to stop play if something comes up that they discovered it is upsetting. You are the DM, and you are responsible for respecting this and immediately retconning what you just described. Some people in the D&D community have said that this is snowflake behavior, and to them I say that that's the reason no one wants to play with you. Let's agree to respect everybody and come together to be inclusive and make sure that everybody is having fun. And there you have it, adventurers, a comprehensive guide to becoming a dungeon master. Remember, the key to being a great DM is to have fun and ensure your players are having fun too. Each session is a collaborative storytelling experience, and your role is to guide and facilitate that journey and make sure that everybody, including yourself, is having fun. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more content, and share your DMing tips or questions in the comments below. Until next time, keep rolling those dice, and may the quests be epic. Did I do it? Are we done? One shot? That was one take? Yes!